A billionaire CEO walked into a rundown diner wearing work boots and a faded jacket, and nobody recognized him. Not the tired waitress refilling coffee, not the truckers arguing over sports. Nobody knew the quiet man helping his daughter color on napkins was worth $3 billion, and he wanted it that way. Because Mason Reed wasn't running from the law or hiding from enemies, he was running from himself. From the emptiness of penthouse walls, from the guilt of failing the one person who mattered most. But you don't escape grief by changing zip codes. You face it, or it destroys you. Stay with me until the end of this story, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this reaches. The glass conference room on the 47th floor smelled like leather chairs and expensive cologne. Mason Reed sat at the head of the table, fingers steepled beneath his chin, watching 12 executives argue about third-quarter projections like their lives depended on it. They didn't. Their bonuses did. We're looking at a 17% increase if we push the product launch to Q4, someone said. Mason couldn't remember his name, regional VP of something. That's conservative, another voice cut in. We could hit 22 if Marketing's already overextended, a woman in a gray suit interrupted. Unless you want to sacrifice brand integrity for short term. Mason stopped listening. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind them, Chicago sprawled out in every direction, steel and glass towers clawing at an October sky gone the color of old bruises. Somewhere down there, past the financial district and the lake and the neighborhoods where people like him never went, his daughter was sitting in second grade learning multiplication tables. Or maybe she wasn't learning anything. Maybe she was staring out her own window, wondering why her father kept promising he'd make it to her school events and never did. Mason? He blinked. Everyone was looking at him. Sorry, he said. What? The CFO, Dennis, that was his name, cleared his throat. I asked if you wanted to review the revised budget allocation before we present to the board. Email it to me. The meeting's in 2 hours. Then I'll read it in 2 hours. Dennis's jaw tightened. The room went quiet in that particular way rooms go quiet when powerful men get irritated but can't say so. Mason stood. We're done here. But we haven't finalized. You've been finalizing for 90 minutes. Make a decision and move on. He walked out before anyone could respond. His assistant, Lauren, fell into step beside him the moment he hit the hallway. She was 40-something, ruthlessly efficient, and one of 3 people in the building who'd tell him the truth. You've got the board meeting at 3, she said, scrolling through her tablet. Dinner with the venture capital group at 7. And Chloe's parent-teacher conference is at 4:30, but I already sent your regrets and canceled dinner. Lauren's fingers froze mid-scroll. The VC dinner? All of it. Cancel everything after 2. Mason, these people flew in from San Francisco specifically to, I don't care if they flew in from Mars. Cancel it. She studied him for a long moment. You're going to the school thing. I'm going to the school thing. About time, she muttered. He almost smiled. Chloe's school sat in Lincoln Park, one of those pristine brick buildings where rich people sent their kids to get pristine educations. Mason had donated enough money to put his name on a library wing. He'd never actually seen the library wing. He found her classroom on the 2nd floor. Through the door's narrow window, he could see her, dark hair pulled into a lopsided ponytail, crayon gripped in her fist, tongue poking out in concentration the way her mother used to when she was focused, the way Sarah used to. Mason's chest tightened. 3 years. 3 years since the car accident that took her. 3 years of Chloe asking when Mommy was coming home until she finally stopped asking. 3 years of Mason burying himself in work because building companies was easier than building a relationship with his own daughter. 3 years of failing the only person he had left. He knocked. Mrs. Patterson, Chloe's teacher, opened the door with the kind of smile people use when they're being paid to be pleasant. Mr. Reed, what a surprise. I know I'm early for the conference. Early? She checked her watch. Oh, I'm afraid we rescheduled. Didn't your assistant tell you? She did. I came anyway. Mrs. Patterson blinked. Behind her, Chloe looked up from her drawing. For a second, she just stared at him like he was a stranger. Then her whole face transformed. Dad! She launched herself at him, skinny arms wrapping around his waist. Mason caught her, held her, Tried to remember the last time she'd hugged him like this. Couldn't. "What are you doing here?" Chloe asked, pulling back to look at him. "Thought I'd surprise you, pick you up early. Maybe we could do something, together." "Really?" The hope in her voice broke something in him. "Really?" he said. "Whatever you want." She thought for exactly 3 seconds. "Can we go somewhere you've never been before?" "Like where?" "I don't know. Somewhere normal people go." Normal people. Mason looked at his daughter, 7 years old, wearing a school uniform that cost more than most people's monthly rent, asking to go somewhere normal like it was a foreign country. "Yeah," he said, "we can do that." But they ended up driving for 40 minutes. Mason didn't plan the route. He just drove south, away from the lake, away from the neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and coffee shops that sold $12 lattes. He drove until the buildings got smaller and closer together, until the cars got older, and the people on the sidewalks stopped looking like extras from a banking commercial. "Where are we going?" Chloe asked from the back seat. "No idea. Mom used to say that's the best kind of adventure." Mason's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Your mom was right." They ended up in Bridgeport, a working-class neighborhood Mason had maybe driven through once in his life, definitely never stopped in. The streets were narrow, lined with bungalows and corner stores and hand-painted signs advertising phone cards and check cashing. "There," Chloe said, pointing. "A diner. Small, square, brick. The kind of place that looked like it had been there since before Mason was born. Neon sign in the window, Daisy's Grill. Half the letters were burned out." "A diner," Mason said. "You said somewhere you've never been." "I've been to diners." "Not one like that." She wasn't wrong. He parked on the street, helped Chloe out of her booster seat. Together they walked to the entrance, and Mason realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd opened a door for himself. The diner smelled like coffee and frying oil and something else, something lived in and real that his penthouse never smelled like. A bell jangled overhead. Inside, the place was maybe a third full, old guys nursing coffee at the counter, a couple of construction workers still in their boots, a tired-looking woman with 2 small kids trying to keep them from destroying the salt shakers. Nobody looked up. Nobody recognized him. For the first time in years, Mason felt invisible. It felt incredible. "Sit anywhere, hon," a voice called from behind the counter. Mason and Chloe slid into a booth by the window. The vinyl seat was patched with duct tape. The laminate table was scarred with decades of forks and knives. The whole place felt worn in, comfortable, like a jacket you'd had so long it fit perfectly. A waitress appeared beside their table. "Hey there," she said, pulling out a notepad. "What can I get you to?" Mason looked up and forgot how to speak. She was maybe 30, brown hair pulled into a messy bun, no makeup, or not enough to matter, dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept well in months. Her uniform, a blue dress with a white apron, had seen better days. But when she smiled at Chloe, something about her whole face changed. "I like your backpack," she told Chloe. "Unicorns?" Chloe nodded shyly. "Good choice. Unicorns are way better than dragons." "Dragons are cool too," Chloe said. "You know what? You're right. Dragons are cool too." The waitress, her name tag said Ava, turned to Mason. "And what about you? Team Unicorn or Team Dragon?" Mason's brain came back online. "I'm, neutral." "Switzerland, I respect that." She clicked her pen. "So what'll it be?" "What's good here?" Mason asked. Honest answer? "The burger's solid. Fries are better than they should be. Coffee's terrible, but people drink it anyway." "We'll take 2 burgers and fries. And, he glanced at Chloe. "Chocolate milkshakes?" Chloe's eyes went wide. Mason never let her have chocolate milkshakes. Too much sugar. Bad for her teeth. That's what the nutritionist he'd hired said. Screw the nutritionist. 2 chocolate milkshakes, Ava confirmed, writing it down. "Coming right up." She walked away and Mason watched her go. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, in a way that had nothing to do with the women he usually met at charity galas, but because she'd looked at him like he was just another customer, not a CEO, not a billionaire, just a guy. "Dad?" He turned back to Chloe. "Yeah?" "You're smiling." Was he? "I guess I am." Mason said. The food came 15 minutes later. Ava set down 2 plates with burgers that were definitely not gourmet, and a basket of fries that were definitely hand-cut, and 2 milkshakes in glasses so thick they probably weighed a pound each. "Holler if you need anything," she said, and moved to the next table. Mason picked up his burger, took a bite. It was the best thing he'd eaten in months. Not because it was fancy, because it wasn't. Because it tasted like someone had actually made it instead of deconstructing it into an experience. It tasted like food. "Good?" Chloe asked. "Really good." They ate in comfortable silence. Outside, the sun was starting to set, turning the street orange and gold. Inside, the diner hummed with quiet conversation and the clatter of dishes and an old jukebox playing something from the 70s. Mason felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. "Excuse me?" He looked up. Ava was back holding a coffee pot. "Top you off?" she asked. Mason hadn't ordered coffee, but there was a mug in front of him anyway, steam rising from it. "I didn't." "On the house," Ava said. "You looked like you could use it." She poured before he could protest. Then she glanced at Chloe, who was working on her milkshake with the kind of focus usually reserved for diffusing bombs. "She's a good kid," Ava said quietly. "She is. Looks like you." "Poor thing," Ava laughed. A real laugh, not the polite kind. "Don't sell yourself short. You've got at least 3 decent features." Mason blinked. 3? Maybe 2.5. "Now you're just being mean." "Little bit," she smiled. "But seriously, she's lucky to have you." The words hit him harder than they should have. Because Chloe wasn't lucky to have him. Chloe was stuck with him. With a father who worked 80 hours a week and forgot school conferences and couldn't figure out how to braid hair or make pancakes that didn't come out like hockey pucks. "I'm lucky to have her," Mason said. Ava studied him for a moment, like she was seeing something he wasn't saying. Then she nodded. "Yeah, I believe that." She moved to another table, and Mason sat there holding his terrible coffee, thinking about how a stranger in a diner had just said something his own board of directors never had. "You're lucky. Not successful. Not brilliant. Not visionary. Lucky." "Dad?" Chloe's voice was small. "Yeah, kiddo? Can we come back here?" Mason looked around the little diner with its patched vinyl and scarred tables and neon sign missing half its letters. He looked at the tired waitress refilling coffee for construction workers. He looked at his daughter, milkshake mustache on her upper lip, actually smiling. "Yeah," he said, "we can come back." They did. Not the next day. But 3 days later, Mason found himself driving south again after work. And then again the following week. And then it became a routine. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he'd pick Chloe up from school and they'd drive to Bridgeport, to Daisy's Grill, to the booth by the window. Ava was always there, not because she was assigned to their section, because she worked doubles, Mason eventually learned. Breakfast through dinner, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. "Don't you ever take a day off?" he asked one Thursday evening. Ava was refilling his coffee, the terrible coffee he'd started actually liking, and she shrugged. "Days off don't pay rent." "You work here every day?" "Not every day. Sometimes I work at the warehouse." "The warehouse?" "Overnight stocking, Tuesdays and Saturdays." She said it matter-of-factly, like working 90 hours a week was normal. Mason did the math. If she was working here 6 days and at the warehouse 2 nights, that meant she was pulling doubles on Tuesdays and Saturdays, 16-hour days, twice a week. "That's insane," he said before he could stop himself. Ava's smile went tight. "That's life." "No, I didn't mean—" "It's fine." But her voice said it wasn't fine. She moved to the next table. Chloe looked at him. "You made her mad." "I know." "You should apologize." "I know that too." When Ava came back with their food, burgers and fries, always burgers and fries, Mason tried again. "I'm sorry," he said. "That came out wrong. I just meant nobody should have to work that hard." And yet here we are. Ava set down Chloe's plate, then his. "Enjoy your meal." She started to walk away. "Wait," Mason said. She turned back. "Why do you do it?" he asked. "Work that much, I mean. For a long moment, Ava just looked at him, and Mason realized she was deciding whether to tell him the truth or brush him off. Finally, she sighed. You really want to know? I really want to know. She pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. Chloe, sensing something important, got very quiet. I had a full ride to nursing school, Ava said. 4 years, tuition paid, everything covered. I was going to be a pediatric nurse, work with kids, make a difference. All that idealistic garbage. What happened? My mom got sick, cancer, stage 4, needed treatment, needed care, needed someone to pay for all of it. Ava's fingers traced patterns on the table. So I dropped out, took care of her, worked whatever jobs I could find to cover the medical bills. She died anyway, Ava cut in. 2 years of treatment and she died anyway. And by then I was too far behind to go back to school, too broke to pay for it, too tired to care. Mason felt something twist in his chest. What about family? Couldn't they help? Ava's laugh was bitter. My family made it very clear that taking care of Mom was my choice, my problem. They didn't want any part of it. She stood up. So now I work at a diner and stock shelves at night and try not to think too hard about what could have been. She walked away before Mason could respond. Chloe stared at her milkshake. That's sad. Yeah, Mason said. It is. Can we help her? I don't think she'd let us, kiddo. Why not? Because some people, Mason thought, have been let down so many times that help looks like pity, and pity hurts worse than struggling alone. Because she's proud, he said instead. Chloe thought about that. Pride is stupid. Sometimes. Yeah. The weeks became months. October bled into November. Chicago got colder, meaner, the kind of cold that cut through expensive coats and made people walk faster with their heads down. But Daisy's grill stayed warm. Mason kept coming back, kept bringing Chloe, kept sitting in the same booth, ordering the same food, drinking the same terrible coffee. And slowly, carefully, he and Ava started talking. Not about anything important at first, just small things. The weather, the Bears' terrible season, Chloe's obsession with unicorns. The way the old guys at the counter argued about politics like they were going to solve world peace over scrambled eggs. But eventually, the small things became bigger things. You never talk about your work, Ava said one evening. Mason had just finished his burger. Chloe was in the bathroom. They were alone. Not much to talk about, he lied. Everybody's job is something. What do you do? I'm in software. Like programming? Sort of. More like managing programmers? Sounds boring, Mason laughed. It really is. Then why do you do it? Because I built a company from nothing and turned it into something worth billions, and now I'm trapped by my own success. Because I'm good at it, he said. Ava tilted her head. That's the saddest reason I've ever heard. What? Being good at something doesn't mean you should do it forever. Lots of people are good at things that make them miserable. Are you good at this? Waitressing? I'm great at it. Doesn't mean I want to do it until I'm 60. What would you do instead? She looked at him like he'd asked her to describe what color happiness was. I told you, she said quietly. Nursing. Taking care of kids who are sick and scared and need someone to tell them it's going to be okay. You could still do that. Right. With what money? What time? Ava shook her head. That ship sailed. Ships come back. Not mine. Chloe returned from the bathroom before Mason could respond, but the conversation stuck with him, stayed in his head during the drive home, during the board meeting the next day, during the hours he spent staring at spreadsheets and profit projections and quarterly reports. That ship sailed. Like dreams had expiration dates, like giving up was inevitable. Okay. In late November, Chloe got sick. Nothing serious, just a cold that turned into a fever that turned into Mason panicking because he'd never been good at the sick kid thing. Sarah had always handled it, knew which medicines to give, which foods to make, how to tell when it was just a bug versus something worse. Mason knew spreadsheets. He called his pediatrician, who said to monitor her fever and give her fluids and call back if it got worse. It got worse. By Thursday evening, Chloe's temperature hit 103. She was shivering under 3 blankets, asking for her mom, and Mason was trying very hard not to show her how terrified he was. I want to go to the diner, Chloe mumbled. You're too sick, kiddo. Please. Chloe, please, Dad. I just want to see Ava. Mason looked at his daughter, pale, feverish, asking for a waitress she'd known for 2 months like she was family. And he thought, when did that happen? When did a stranger become the person his daughter wanted when she felt terrible? Okay, he said, but just for a little bit. He bundled her up, carried her to the car, drove through November sleet to Bridgeport. The diner was quiet when they arrived. Late evening, most of the dinner crowd gone. Ava was wiping down tables. She looked up when the bell jangled, saw Mason carrying Chloe. Her whole expression changed. What happened? She's sick. High fever. She wanted to come here. Ava was already moving, pulling out a booth, helping him set Chloe down. She pressed the back of her hand to Chloe's forehead. She's burning up. Did you give her anything? Tylenol, 2 hours ago. Fluids? She won't drink. Ava disappeared into the kitchen, came back with a glass of water and a cold, damp cloth. She sat down next to Chloe, pressed the cloth to her forehead. Hey, sweetheart, she said softly. I need you to drink some water for me, okay? Don't want to, Chloe mumbled. I know, but you have to. Just a few sips. Chloe managed 3 small sips before she gave up. Ava looked at Mason. When's the last time she peed? I don't know. You need to know. Dehydration is the real danger with fevers. She stood up. I'm calling my friend. She's an ER nurse. She'll know what to do. I already called our pediatrician, and they told you to monitor her, right? That's what they always say. Ava was already pulling out her phone. Just let me call her. Mason watched Ava pace near the counter, phone pressed to her ear, explaining the situation in calm, clear medical terms that didn't sound like a waitress at all. They sounded like the nurse she'd wanted to be. 5 minutes later, Ava came back. She says to take her in, Ava said. Not urgent, but better safe than sorry. The fever's too high for too long. Mason felt his chest tighten. The ER. I'll come with you. You don't have to. I'm coming. Ava was already untying her apron. She called over to the cook. Ray, I'm leaving early. Emergency. You okay? Ray called back. Yeah, just need to help a friend. Friend. The words settled over Mason like a blanket. They took Mason's car to the hospital. Ava sat in the back with Chloe, keeping the cold cloth on her head, talking to her in a low, soothing voice about unicorns and chocolate milkshakes and the time she'd had pneumonia as a kid and thought she was going to die, but obviously didn't. At the ER, they waited for 2 hours. Mason paced. Ava sat with Chloe in her lap, stroking her hair, singing quietly. Songs Mason didn't recognize. Probably lullabies her own mother had sung to her. When they finally got called back, the doctor confirmed it was just a bad virus. IV fluids for dehydration, stronger fever reducer. Home in a few hours. Mason felt the panic drain out of him all at once. See, Ava told Chloe, nothing scary, just some magic water and you'll feel better. Chloe managed a weak smile. Magic water? That's what the IV is, magic water. You're weird, Chloe mumbled. Yeah, I am. They didn't leave the hospital until after midnight. Chloe fell asleep in the car, fever finally breaking, breathing even and calm. Ava sat in the passenger seat this time. Thank you, Mason said into the quiet. For what? For knowing what to do. I was useless. You weren't useless. You were scared. There's a difference. Is there? Ava looked at him. You brought her here. You made sure she was okay. That's not useless. That's being a parent. Mason's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm terrible at it. Why do you think that? Because I work too much. Because I forget school stuff. Because when she got sick, I didn't even know when she'd last used the bathroom. His voice cracked. Because her mom would have known exactly what to do and I just panicked. Silence. Then Ava said, My mom died when I was 24. And you want to know what I remember most about her? Mason glanced over. Not the time she got it right, Ava continued. I remember the time she got it wrong. The time she was scared and didn't know what to do but did something anyway. That's what being a parent is. Showing up even when you're terrified. I don't show up enough. You showed up tonight. Because Chloe asked me to. So? You still came. Ava shifted to look at him fully. Stop keeping score of everything you do wrong. She's not. She just wants you there. Mason felt something break open in his chest, something that had been locked down tight since Sarah died. I miss her, he said quietly. My wife. I miss her so much I can't breathe sometimes. And I look at Chloe and I see Sarah and it hurts so badly I don't know what to do with it. Ava didn't say anything. Didn't tell him it would get better. Didn't tell him time heals all wounds. She just reached over and put her hand on his arm. And that was enough. After that night, something shifted. Mason couldn't name it exactly. But the next time he came to the diner, Ava smiled at him differently. Sat with him longer between orders. Asked more questions about his life, his work, the parts of himself he usually kept hidden. And he asked her questions too. About her family, about nursing school, about the dreams she'd buried under 12-hour shifts and medical bills, and the weight of surviving alone. Do you ever think about going back? He asked one evening. To school? Ava laughed. With what money? There are loans, grants, programs that... I'm 30 years old. I'd be the oldest person in my class. So I'm tired, Mason. I work 90 hours a week just to keep my head above water. I don't have energy left for 4 more years of school. What if you didn't have to work 90 hours? She gave him a look. Are you offering me a job? No, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if money wasn't an issue, would you do it? Money is always an issue. But if it wasn't, Ava stared at her coffee mug. I don't let myself think like that anymore. It's easier. Easier than what? Than hoping for things that won't happen. The words hung between them. And Mason realized something that should have been obvious weeks ago. He was falling for her. Not because she was beautiful, not because she was kind, but because she'd survived things that would have destroyed him. And she was still here, still showing up, still caring about a little girl she barely knew and a man she knew even less. She was real. In a world of board meetings and business lunches and people who wanted things from him, Ava wanted nothing, except maybe to be seen. December came. The diner hung cheap tinsel and a crooked plastic tree. Someone put carols on the jukebox. The old guys at the counter complained about the commercialization of Christmas while drinking subsidized coffee and eating pie. Chloe asked if they could bring Ava a present. Like what? Mason asked. I don't know. Something nice. What would she want? Chloe thought hard. Maybe something for nursing school. She's not going to nursing school, kiddo. But she wants to. You said people should do things they want. I said that? You told the people at your work that. I heard you on the phone. Mason had no memory of this conversation, but Chloe's memory was better than his. That's different, he said. Why? Because... He stopped. Because why was it different? Because Ava was poor? Because she'd missed her chance? Because dreams had expiration dates? You're right, he said. It's not different. 3 days before Christmas, Mason showed up at the diner alone. No Chloe. Just him and an envelope. Ava looked surprised. Where's your shadow? She's with my sister today. I actually came to see you. Me? Why? He handed her the envelope. Ava stared at it like it might explode. What is this? Open it. She did. Inside was a check for $50,000. Ava's face went white. What the hell is this? It's for school, tuition, books, living expenses while you study, whatever you need. I can't. Her hands were shaking. This is insane. It's just money. Just money? Do you know how long I'd have to work to make $50,000? So don't work. Go to school. Ava shoved the envelope back at him. I'm not taking this. Why not? Because I don't take charity. It's not charity. Then what is it? Mason hesitated. Because what was it? A gift? An investment? A desperate attempt to help someone who'd helped him remember what it felt like to be human? It's me saying you deserve better, he said finally. Ava's eyes filled with tears. You don't know anything about me. I know you work yourself to death for people who don't appreciate it. I know you're brilliant and kind, and you should be taking care of sick kids, not refilling coffee for guys who don't tip. His voice dropped. I know you gave up everything for your mom, and nobody ever gave you a chance to get it back. So you're going to save me? Is that it? Swoop in with your money and fix my life? No, I'm trying to help you fix it yourself. I don't need your help. Everybody needs help, not from people who feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for you, Mason said. I'm in awe of you. Ava froze. The diner hummed around them. Dishes clattered. Someone laughed at the counter. The jukebox played a song about snow. You don't even know me, Ava whispered. I know enough. She looked at the envelope in his hands, at him, at the life she'd built from scraps and exhaustion and pure stubborn will. If I take this, she said slowly, it's not charity, it's a loan. Ava, a loan, she repeated firmly. I'll pay you back, every penny, even if it takes 20 years. Mason wanted to argue, but the look on her face said arguing would end this before it started. Fine, he said. It's a loan. Ava took the envelope. And for the first time since he'd met her, she smiled like she believed good things could actually happen. Ava didn't cash the check for 3 days. Mason knew because he checked his account obsessively, refreshing his phone like a teenager waiting for a text back. When the $50,000 finally disappeared from his balance on December 23rd, he felt something loosen in his chest that he hadn't realized was tight. She'd taken it. She'd actually taken it. He wanted to call her, to ask what changed her mind, but he didn't have her number. They'd been meeting at the diner for 3 months, and he'd never thought to ask for it. Or maybe he had thought about it and chickened out because asking for someone's number meant admitting you wanted to talk to them outside of chance encounters and greasy spoons. So he did what he always did. He went to the diner. It was Christmas Eve. The place was nearly empty. Just Ray in the kitchen and one old guy at the counter reading a newspaper from 2 days ago. No Ava. She's not here, Ray called from the kitchen window. Mason stopped halfway to his usual booth. When does her shift start? Doesn't. She quit. The words hit him wrong. She what? Ray came out wiping his hands on a towel. He was 60-something, built like a retired boxer, with the kind of face that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. Gave her notice yesterday, Ray said. Said she's going back to school, nursing or something. She quit. That a problem? No, I just... Mason ran a hand through his hair. Did she say anything else? Like what? Like whether she was angry at him for forcing money on her. Like whether she thought he was trying to buy his way into her life. Like whether she ever wanted to see him again. Nothing, Mason said. Never mind. He left without ordering anything. In the car, he sat gripping the steering wheel, trying to figure out why he felt like he'd just lost something important. Ava quitting was good news. It meant she was finally doing what she wanted. It meant the money helped. It also meant she had no reason to be at Daisy's Grill anymore. And neither did he. Chloe was going to be devastated. Hell, he was devastated. Mason pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts like Ava's number might magically appear, then remembered he was a billionaire CEO who employed people specifically to find information. He called Lauren. It's Christmas Eve, she answered. This better be life or death. I need you to find someone. Of course you do. He heard papers rustling. Who? Ava Carter. She worked at a diner in Bridgeport. I need her phone number. Silence. Then, you want me to track down a woman on Christmas Eve? Yes. Is this related to the $50,000 check you wrote last week? Mason had forgotten Lauren saw all his transactions. Maybe. Mason, it's not what you think. I think you wrote a huge check to a woman I've never heard of, and now you're asking me to find her contact information. What am I supposed to think? That I'm trying to help someone. Help or pursue. Does it matter? Another pause. Then Lauren sighed. I'll see what I can find. But you owe me a bonus. You already get a bonus. A bigger bonus. She hung up. Mason sat in the parking lot watching sleet hit his windshield and tried to remember the last time he'd chased after anyone. Sarah, maybe. Back in college when he'd been stupid and broke and convinced she was too good for him. Turned out he'd been right about that. His phone rang. That was fast, he said. I'm efficient. Lauren rattled off a phone number. She lives in Pilsen, apartment building on 18th Street. Want the address? No, just the number's fine. Merry Christmas, Mason. You too, Lauren. He hung up and stared at the number on his screen. What was he supposed to say? Thanks for letting me throw money at your problems. Sorry I made you feel like charity. Please don't disappear from my life because you're the only person who looks at me like I'm human, he called before he could overthink it. It rang 4 times. Hello? Ava's voice, cautious because she didn't recognize the number. It's Mason. Silence. From the diner, he added stupidly. I know who you are. She sounded tired. How did you get this number? I asked someone to find it. That's creepy. I know, I'm sorry. Ray said you quit, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. Why wouldn't I be okay? I don't know. I thought maybe maybe I overstepped and you were angry. Mason, she cut him off. I'm not angry. I'm grateful. The check cleared. I registered for spring classes. I start in January. He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. More silence. This was going terribly. Chloe's going to miss you, Mason said. At the diner. I'll miss her too. Maybe we could, if you wanted, we could still get together sometime, the 3 of us, if you're not too busy. He sounded pathetic. He knew he sounded pathetic. Ava was quiet for so long he thought she'd hung up. Then, are you asking me on a play date or a date? Mason's brain short-circuited. What? Because if it's a play date, sure, Chloe's great. But if it's a date, I need to know that up front. His mouth didn't work right. Would you want it to be a date? I asked you first. Fair point. Mason closed his eyes. I don't know what I'm asking. I just know I don't want to stop seeing you. The honesty felt like standing naked in a snowstorm. Okay, Ava said softly. Okay? Let's get coffee, after Christmas. Just us. We can figure out what we're doing. Just us, Mason repeated. Is that a problem? No, no problem. Good. He could hear the smile in her voice. Merry Christmas, Mason. Merry Christmas. She hung up. Mason sat in his car grinning like an idiot at the sleet-covered windshield. He had a date. Maybe. Probably. He had coffee plans, at minimum. It was the best Christmas present he'd gotten in 3 years. The actual holiday was quieter than usual. Mason's sister hosted like she did every year. Too much food, too many people, her kids running around hopped up on sugar and new toys. Chloe joined the chaos, but kept asking when they were going back to the diner. Ava doesn't work there anymore, Mason explained for the 3rd time. So where is she? Home, probably. Can we visit her? Not today, kiddo. Chloe's face fell. Why not? Because showing up at someone's apartment on Christmas was insane. Because Ava was probably busy. Because Mason was terrified she'd changed her mind about coffee, and seeing her in person would confirm it. Because it's a holiday, he said instead. We'll see her soon. You promise? I promise. Chloe seemed satisfied with that. She went back to playing with her cousins, and Mason's sister cornered him in the kitchen. Who's Ava? Jennifer asked. Nobody. Chloe's been talking about her all day. Doesn't sound like nobody. Mason poured himself wine he didn't want. She's a friend. A friend you've been sneaking off to see in Bridgeport? I haven't been sneaking. Mom said you've been distant, missing family dinners, taking Chloe to some diner instead of the country club. The country club is boring. Jennifer leaned against the counter. She was 5 years older than Mason, with the same dark hair and the same inability to let things go. What's going on with you? She asked. Nothing's going on. You're different. Different how? Less miserable. Mason looked at his sister. I wasn't miserable. Yes, you were. You've been miserable since Sarah died. We all pretended not to notice because what were we supposed to say? But you were drowning, Mason, and now you're not. So either therapy's finally working or something else changed. He thought about the diner, about Ava refilling terrible coffee and asking about his day like she actually cared, about Chloe laughing for the first time in months, about feeling normal instead of performing normal. Something else changed, he admitted. Jennifer studied him. Is it serious? I don't know yet. But you want it to be. Did he? Mason barely knew Ava. They'd had maybe a dozen real conversations. Everything else was just small talk over burgers and the slow accumulation of proximity. But he'd given her $50,000, and she'd taken it, and now they were getting coffee. Yeah, he said. I think I do. Jennifer smiled. Good. You deserve to be happy. Do I? Don't start that. Sarah wouldn't want you to be alone forever. How do you know? Because she loved you, you idiot. And people who love you want you to keep living after they're gone. Mason's throat tightened. He took a drink of wine that tasted like battery acid. I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. Do what? Move on, start over, be with someone who isn't her. Jennifer put a hand on his arm. You don't have to figure it all out today. Just take it one step at a time. One step at a time. Coffee first, everything else later. They met at a cafe in Wicker Park 3 days after Christmas. Neutral territory. Not too fancy, not too casual. The kind of place where nobody would recognize Mason and Ava could leave if this turned out to be a terrible idea. She was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table with a mug between her hands. She'd pulled her hair back, put on actual makeup. She looked nervous. That made two of them. Hi, Mason said, sliding into the chair across from her. Hi. You look nice. You said that already, in your head. I could see you thinking it. He laughed despite the nerves eating him alive. Am I that obvious? Little bit, Ava smiled. You look nice too, less corporate. Mason glanced down at his sweater and jeans. I can do casual. Could have fooled me. I've seen you wear the same boots to the diner for 3 months. They're comfortable boots. They're falling apart. That's what makes them comfortable. A waitress came by. Mason ordered coffee. When she left, silence settled over the table like fog. Ava broke it first. This is weird, right? She said. So weird. We've been having conversations for months and now I don't know what to say. Same. She laughed. Okay, new rule. We pretend this is the diner. You just sat down. I'm about to take your order. What do you want? Burger and fries. We don't have burgers here. Then I'm leaving. Mason. Fine. Turkey club? Better. Ava mimed writing on an invisible pad. And for the kid? There is no kid. Chloe's with my sister. I know, I'm improvising. She looked up from her fake notepad. How is she? Chloe? Good. She misses you. I miss her too. She's a good kid. She is. Gets it from her mom, I bet. Mason's chest tightened. Yeah, she was incredible, patient, kind. Everything I'm not. Don't do that. Do what? Talk about yourself like you're broken. Ava set down her invisible notepad. You're not broken, Mason. You're grieving. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Broken means unfixable. Grief just means you love someone enough that losing them changed you. She wrapped both hands around her mug. That's not a flaw. That's being human. Mason didn't know what to say to that. The waitress returned with his coffee. He doctored it with cream and sugar while Ava watched. What? He asked. Nothing. Just trying to figure out what we're doing here. Having coffee. Right. But why? Because I asked and you said yes. But why did you ask? Mason set down his spoon. Do you want the honest answer or the safe answer? Honest. He took a breath. I asked because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the day we met. Because you're the first person in 3 years who looked at me like I was just a guy instead of a CEO or a widower or a charity case. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. Ava stared at him. Too much? Mason asked. No, I wasn't expecting that. What were you expecting? I don't know. Something about Chloe, maybe. Or how you wanted to check on your investment. My investment? The $50,000. Mason shook his head. That money wasn't an investment. It was a gift. You called it a loan. Because you wouldn't take it otherwise. So you lied. I negotiated. Ava's mouth twitched. You're impossible. I've been told that. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, I haven't dated anyone in 4 years. Okay. I'm serious. 4 years. I don't know how to do this anymore. Do what? This. Sitting across from someone and pretending I'm not terrified. You're terrified? Of course I'm terrified. She gestured vaguely at him. You're you, successful and rich and way out of my league. I'm not out of your league. Mason, you probably spend more on dry cleaning than I make in a month. Money doesn't mean anything. Easy to say when you have it. Fair point. He leaned forward. But for what it's worth, you scare me too. I scare you how? Because you're real. Everyone in my world wants something from me. Money, connections, favors. But you didn't want anything. You just wanted to do your job and go home and survive. And somehow you still found time to care about a kid you barely knew and her mess of a father. Ava's eyes were shining. Chloe's easy to care about. And me? She smiled. Jury's still out. He laughed, actually laughed. The tension bled out of his shoulders. Okay, Ava said. New rule, we take this slow. How slow? Glacial, we're talking tectonic plates slow. I can do slow. And no more giant checks. If you want to help me, you ask first. Deal. And we're honest with each other. No games, no trying to impress anyone, just honest. Mason held out his hand across the table. Deal. Ava shook it. Her hand was small and rough from years of carrying plates and scrubbing tables. His was soft from years of signing papers and shaking hands with people who didn't work for a living. They fit together anyway. They stayed at the cafe for 2 hours, talked about everything and nothing. Ava told him about her first week of nursing classes. Overwhelming, but good. Mason told her about Chloe's obsession with a new cartoon about dragons who ran a bakery. That sounds made up, Ava said. I swear it's real. They make cupcakes and fight crime. Fighting crime with cupcakes? Don't question the logic. Chloe loves it. When they finally left, the sun was setting and the temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Ava pulled her coat tighter. Can I give you a ride home? Mason asked. I took the train. So that's a yes? She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. They walked to his car in comfortable silence. Ava stopped when she saw it. This is your car. Mason looked at the Mercedes. Yeah, why? Nothing. Just didn't picture you as a German sedan guy. What did you picture? I don't know. Something flashier? A sports car? Red, probably. I'm not a red sports car person. No, Ava agreed, climbing into the passenger seat. You're definitely a sensible luxury vehicle person. Is that an insult? It's an observation. He drove her home through streets that got narrower and more crowded the further south they went. Ava's apartment was in Pilsen, a neighborhood Mason had driven through exactly twice in his life. This is me, Ava said, pointing to a 3-story brick building that had seen better decades. Mason pulled over. Can I walk you up? It's not that kind of neighborhood. I'll be fine. I know you'll be fine. I still want to walk you up. Ava looked at him. You're not going to let this go, are you? Nope. Fine, but don't judge the building. It's old. I'm not judging. They climbed 2 flights of stairs that smelled like cooking and old carpet. Ava's apartment was at the end of the hall, 2C, the numbers hanging crooked. She unlocked the door, but didn't open it. So, she said. So, this was nice. It was. We should do it again. We should. Neither of them moved. Mason could feel his heart beating too fast. He wanted to kiss her, wanted it so badly his hands were shaking, but they'd agreed on slow, glacial, tectonic plates. Ava must have seen something in his face because she smiled. You're thinking about kissing me, she said. How do you know? Because you get this look, like you're doing math in your head. I don't do math. You're doing some kind of calculation. She stepped closer. For the record, I'm thinking about it too. You are? But we said slow. We did say slow. So maybe we should wait. Probably smart. Ava reached up and kissed him anyway. It was quick, soft, over before Mason's brain caught up to what was happening. She pulled back, cheeks flushed. Sorry, I'm bad at slow. Don't apologize. That was too fast. It was perfect. She smiled. Good night, Mason. Good night. He waited until she was inside with the door locked before heading back down the stairs. In the car, he sat gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember the last time a kiss had made his entire nervous system light up. College, maybe, or never. His phone buzzed. Text from Ava. Stop sitting in your car like a creep. I can see you from my window. He looked up. Third floor, second window from the left. Ava waved. Mason laughed and started the car. On the drive home, Chicago looked different, brighter somehow, like someone had turned up the contrast. Or maybe he was just paying attention for the first time in 3 years. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Mason saw Ava twice a week. Coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever their schedules allowed. Chloe came along sometimes, delighted to have her diner friend back. Other times it was just the two of them, talking until the restaurants kicked them out. Ava started nursing school in January. She was exhausted constantly, buried under textbooks and lab work and clinical rotations. But when Mason asked if she regretted it, she looked at him like he'd suggested she regret breathing. "Are you kidding? This is the best thing I've ever done." They were at her apartment. Mason had started coming over after her study sessions, bringing takeout because Ava forgot to eat when she was cramming for exams. "Even with the stress?" he asked. "Especially with the stress. The stress means I'm actually doing something with my life instead of just surviving it." She was sitting on the floor surrounded by note cards, hair piled on top of her head, wearing sweatpants with a hole in the knee. Mason thought she'd never looked more beautiful. "You want to quiz me?" Ava asked. "On what?" "Anatomy. I've got a practical tomorrow." "I don't know anything about anatomy." "You don't have to know it. Just read the cards and tell me if I'm right." So he did. Spent an hour asking about bones and muscles and nerves while Ava rattled off answers with increasing confidence. When she finally got through the whole stack without a mistake, she collapsed backward onto the carpet. "I'm going to pass," she said. "You're going to ace it. Don't jinx me." Mason stretched out on the floor next to her. "I'm not jinxing anything. You're brilliant." "I'm tired." That too. They lay there staring at her ceiling, where someone had painted glow-in-the-dark stars in a pattern that definitely wasn't astronomically accurate. "Did you do that?" Mason asked, pointing. "My last roommate. She was into astrology." "That's astronomy." "She wasn't good at either." He laughed. Ava rolled onto her side to look at him. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What do you tell people about me?" "What do you mean? Your friends, your family, the people you work with. Do they know you're seeing someone?" Mason thought about his sister's questions at Christmas, his mother's careful inquiries about his social life, the way his business partner kept asking why he was leaving the office early on Thursdays. "I told them I'm seeing someone," he said carefully. But I didn't tell them who." Ava's face shuddered. "Because you're embarrassed." "What?" "No, because it's none of their business." "Mason, I'm serious. My personal life is personal. I don't parade it around the office." "Or you don't want people knowing you're dating a waitress. You're not a waitress anymore?" "Fine. A nursing student who used to be a waitress, who lives in a shitty apartment in Pilsen and shops at thrift stores." Mason sat up. "Where is this coming from?" "I'm being realistic. Your world and my world don't overlap, Mason. Eventually, you're going to have to introduce me to people, and they're going to wonder what the hell you're doing with someone like me." "Someone like you? You mean someone smart and kind and strong enough to rebuild her entire life from scratch?" "Someone poor." The word hung between them. Mason reached for her hand. "I don't care about money." "Everyone cares about money." "Okay, fine. I care about money in the sense that I have it, and I'm glad I don't have to worry about it. But I don't care about it when it comes to you. I care that you make me laugh. I care that Chloe lights up when she sees you. I care that you're the first person I want to talk to when something good happens." Ava's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You're going to break my heart, aren't you?" "I hope not." "You will. Eventually, you'll realize this doesn't make sense, and you'll go back to your real life." "This is my real life." "No. Your real life is boardrooms and penthouse apartments and people who summer in the Hamptons. I'm an anomaly, a phase, the girl you dated after your wife died because you needed to feel normal again." Mason pulled her closer. "You're not a phase, and you're definitely not an anomaly. Then what am I?" He kissed her, slow and deliberate, and with every ounce of certainty he had. When they broke apart, Ava was crying. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Of what?" "Of how much I like you, of how easy this feels, of the fact that I can already imagine what it would be like if you left and it hurts." "I'm not leaving." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." How? Mason cupped her face in his hands. Because I'm falling in love with you, and that's not something I do halfway. Ava's breath caught. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then she said, "You can't just say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it's too soon. We've barely been dating 2 months." "So?" "So people don't fall in love that fast." "I did." "Mason." "Ava." She kissed him again, harder this time, like she was trying to prove something. To herself or to him, Mason wasn't sure. When they finally came up for air, she was smiling through her tears. "You're an idiot," she said. "Probably. I'm falling for you too." "Yeah? Yeah, and it terrifies me." "Good," Mason said. "Let's be terrified together." They were terrified together for exactly 3 weeks before reality showed up and ruined everything. It started with a phone call Mason shouldn't have answered. He was at Ava's apartment helping Chloe with a school project about the solar system while Ava studied at the kitchen table. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost let it go to voicemail, but years of being CEO had trained him to answer everything. "Mason Reed," he said. "Mr. Reed, this is Jennifer Walsh from Chicago Tribune. I'm working on a story about tech industry philanthropy, and I'd love to get your comments on the recent donation you made to—" He hung up. Ava looked up from her textbook. "Who was that?" "Nobody. Wrong number." "Didn't sound like a wrong number." It was. She went back to studying, but Mason could feel his chest getting tight. Reporters didn't call his personal cell. They went through Lauren or the PR department. The fact that someone had his number meant they were digging. And if they were digging, they might find Ava. His phone buzzed again. Different number. He silenced it. Then a text from Lauren. "We need to talk. Call me." Mason excused himself to the bathroom and called her back. "What's going on?" he asked. "Someone's writing a story about you. Personal angle. They've been asking questions about where you spend your time, who you're seeing." "How do they even know I'm seeing someone?" "Because you're terrible at being discreet. You've been leaving the office early twice a week for 2 months. People notice." "People meaning who?" "Does it matter? The point is, a reporter knows something's going on and they're trying to find out what, or who." Mason pressed his forehead against the bathroom mirror. "Can you kill the story?" "I can try, but if they've already connected you to someone, that cat's out of the bag." "Her name can't get out, Lauren." "Why? Who is she?" "Someone who didn't ask for this." Lauren was quiet for a moment. "You really care about her?" "Yeah, I do." "Then you need to tell her what's coming, before someone else does." He hung up and stared at himself in Ava's cracked bathroom mirror. Behind the door, he could hear Chloe asking Ava about Saturn's rings. Normal sounds, safe sounds. He was about to blow all of that up. When he came out, Ava took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. "What happened?" "Nothing. I just need to tell you something." "Okay." She closed her textbook. "You're kind of freaking me out. There might be a reporter asking questions about me. About us." Ava blinked. "Why would a reporter care about us?" "Because of who I am." "You're a software guy. That's not exactly tabloid material." Mason sat down across from her. Chloe was still focused on her project, building planets out of foam balls and paint. "I'm not just a software guy," he said quietly. "I own the company. Reed Technologies. We did $3 billion in revenue last year." The color drained from Ava's face. $3 billion, she repeated. "Yeah." "With a B." "Yeah." "You're—" Tss. She stood up abruptly. "You're a billionaire?" "Technically, yes, but—" "Get out." Mason stood too. "Ava? No, get out. Take Chloe and leave." "Can we just talk about this?" "There's nothing to talk about. You lied to me." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "Same thing." Her hands were shaking. "You let me think you were just some regular guy, some middle management software person. And the whole time you were, what, slumming it, getting your kicks watching the poor girl struggle?" "That's not what this was." "Then what was it?" Chloe looked up from her project. "Dad, are you guys fighting?" "No, kiddo," Mason said. "We're just talking." "Sounds like fighting." Ava's eyes were wet. "Take her home, Mason. Please, just let me explain." "Explain what? That you thought it was funny to pretend to be normal? That you got off on watching me stress about rent while you're worth billions? I never pretended to be normal. I just didn't correct your assumptions. That's lying by omission. I know, and I'm sorry. But I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me, not my money, not my company, just me. Well, congratulations, I saw you, and now I see the truth. Mason reached for her hand. She pulled away. Ava, please. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think we could just keep playing house forever and I'd never figure it out? I was going to tell you. When? I don't know, when the time was right. The time was right 3 months ago when we met. The time was right when you gave me $50,000 like it was pocket change. The time was right when you told me you were falling in love with me. Her voice cracked. But you didn't tell me, because you knew I'd run. Would you have? Yes, because this, she gestured between them, this doesn't work. Your world and mine don't fit together. They've been fitting fine for months, because I didn't know, because I thought you were like me. But you're not. You're not even close. Chloe was crying now, quiet, scared tears. Mason knelt down next to her. Hey, it's okay. We're okay. Why is Ava mad? She's not mad at you, sweetheart. She's mad at me. Why? Because I'm an idiot, Mason thought. Because I convinced myself that hiding the truth was better than risking the truth ending things. Because I've been lying to someone I love and she just figured it out. It's complicated, he said. Ava wiped her eyes. You should go. Can we talk about this tomorrow? When you've had time to think. There's nothing to think about. This was a mistake. You don't mean that. I do. I really do. She opened the door. Please leave. Mason gathered up Chloe's school supplies. His daughter was still crying, asking why they had to go, why Ava was upset. He didn't have good answers. At the door, he turned back. I love you. That part was real. Ava's face crumpled. It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. Just go, Mason. He left. In the car, Chloe wouldn't stop crying. I want Ava, she sobbed. I know, kiddo. Me too. Did you make her sad? Yeah, I did. Why? Because I messed up. Can you fix it? Mason didn't answer. Because he didn't know if he could. The next 3 days were hell. Ava wouldn't return his calls or texts. He drove by her apartment twice like a stalker and hated himself for it. Chloe asked about her constantly, and Mason ran out of ways to say he didn't know when they'd see her again. Work was worse. The reporter kept calling. Lauren fielded questions about Mason's personal life that she couldn't answer because he hadn't told her anything. His business partner started asking pointed questions about his focus. And through it all, Mason felt like he was drowning again. Like the last 3 months had been a dream, and now he was awake and alone. On the 4th day, Lauren walked into his office without knocking. The story's running tomorrow, she said. Mason looked up from the proposal he'd been pretending to read. What story? The one about you and the mystery woman. They don't have her name yet, but they have enough details that people will figure it out. Working class neighborhood, nursing student, used to work at a diner. Can we stop it? I tried. They're running it anyway. Human interest angle. Billionaire finds love outside his social circle. It's exactly the kind of feel-good garbage people eat up. Mason dropped his head into his hands. This is a nightmare. Is she worth it? What? The woman. Is she worth all this mess? He thought about Ava's laugh, the way she looked at him like he was just a guy, how Chloe lit up around her, the first time she'd kissed him in her apartment hallway. Yeah, he said. She is. Then you need to fix this before that article comes out, because once it's public, her whole life changes. And if she already hates you, that's only going to make it worse. Lauren was right. Mason grabbed his coat and left. Ava's building looked the same as always. Old brick, crooked numbers, the smell of cooking from a dozen apartments mixing in the stairwell. He climbed to the 2nd floor and knocked on 2C. No answer. He knocked again. Ava, I know you're home. Your car's outside. Silence. Please. I need to talk to you. More silence. Then the door opened. Ava looked terrible. Eyes red, hair unwashed, wearing the same sweatpants she'd had on 3 days ago. What do you want? She asked. to apologize, to explain, to beg you to give me another chance. I'm not interested in any of that. There's a story coming out tomorrow. About us. About me. And once it does, people are going to know who you are. Ava went pale. What? A reporter's been digging. They're running a piece about my personal life. They don't have your name yet, but they have enough information that someone could figure it out. You brought reporters into my life? I didn't bring them anywhere. They found out on their own. Because of you. Because you're... She couldn't even say it. I'm sorry. I should have told you from the beginning. I should have been honest about everything. Yes, you should have. But I wasn't. Because I'm a coward. Because I knew if you found out how much money I had, you'd see me differently, and I couldn't stand the thought of that. Ava leaned against the doorframe. You think money is the problem? Isn't it? No, the problem is trust. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. You let me fall for someone who doesn't exist. I do exist. Everything about us was real. Was it? Because the guy I fell for was just trying to be a good dad, not a billionaire playing pretend. Mason stepped closer. I wasn't playing pretend. That diner, those conversations, everything we've done together, that's the most real I've felt in years. And the $50,000? Was that real too? Or were you just buying your way into my life? I gave you that money because you deserved a chance, not because I expected anything from you. But you didn't tell me you could afford to give away $50,000 like it was nothing. You let me think it was a sacrifice, that you were actually helping me instead of just throwing around pocket change. It wasn't pocket change to me. Mason, you're worth billions. $50,000 is literally nothing to you. He couldn't argue with that. Ava wiped her eyes. I can't do this. Can't do what? Be with someone who lives in a completely different world, who has to worry about reporters and publicity, and she gestured helplessly. I'm a nursing student from Pilsen. I shop at Goodwill. I eat ramen 4 nights a week. That's my life. It doesn't have to be. Yes, it does. Because I'm not going to let you rescue me like some charity case. I'm not trying to rescue you. Then what are you trying to do? Mason took a breath. I'm trying to build a life with you. A real one. Where we figure things out together instead of you struggling alone and me drowning in money I don't even want. You don't want billions of dollars? I want you, and Chloe wants you. And none of the money matters if we don't have you. Ava's face crumpled. Don't do this. Don't do what? Make me hope. Make me think this could actually work when we both know it can't. Why can't it? Because tomorrow that article comes out and I become the poor girl who landed a billionaire. Everyone I know will see me differently. They'll think I'm a gold digger or that I got lucky or that I don't deserve you. I don't deserve you. Stop it. I mean it. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You gave up everything for your mom. You worked yourself to death just to survive. You're going back to school at 30 because you refuse to give up on your dreams. I'm just a guy who got lucky with a startup. You're not just a guy. To you I was. For 3 months I got to be just a guy. Do you know how incredible that felt? Ava was crying openly now. I can't be what you need. You already are. No. You need someone who fits in your world. Someone who knows how to handle reporters and charity galas and whatever rich people do. I hate charity galas. Mason, I'm serious. They're terrible. Everyone's fake and the food's always cold, and I'd rather be eating burgers at Daisy's Grill with you and Chloe. That life is over. You know that, right? Once that article runs, we can't just go to diners anymore. People will recognize you. They'll take pictures. They'll want things. Then we'll deal with it. Together. I don't want to deal with it. I want normal. I want quiet. I want to go to school and work as a nurse and have a simple life. You can still have that. Not with you. The words hit him like a punch. Mason reached for her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Please don't give up on us, he said quietly. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. Realistic means we can't be together? It means we want different things. You want someone to share your world with. I want someone to help me build mine. Those aren't the same thing. They could be. Ava pulled her hand back. I need you to go. Ava, please, I need time to think, to figure out what I'm going to do when that article comes out, to prepare for my life to get turned upside down because of you." The accusation in her voice hurt worse than anything. "I'm sorry," Mason said. "I never wanted any of this to hurt you." "I know, but it did anyway." He left because she asked him to, because staying would only make things worse. In the car, he sat gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. Then he called Lauren. "I need you to kill that story," he said. "I told you, I tried. Try harder. Offer them an exclusive on something else. Pay them off if you have to. I don't care what it costs. That story can't run." "Mason, please, Lauren. She didn't ask for any of this. And if we out her to the world before she's ready, she'll never forgive me." Lauren sighed. "I'll see what I can do." "Thank you." He hung up and drove home through late afternoon traffic that felt like it was moving through concrete. Chloe was waiting when he walked in. His sister had been watching her, and she took one look at Mason's face and quietly left. "Did you talk to Ava?" Chloe asked. "I did." "Is she still mad?" "Yeah, kiddo, she is." "Are you going to fix it?" Mason sat down next to his daughter. "I'm trying. But sometimes when you hurt someone, they need time before they can forgive you." "How much time?" "I don't know." Chloe leaned against him. "I miss her." "Me too." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the city glittered in the dusk. $3 billion of success spread out below them in a view most people would kill for. Mason would have traded all of it to be back in Ava's tiny apartment, eating takeout and quizzing her on anatomy. His phone buzzed. Text from Lauren. "Story killed. They took an exclusive on the new product launch instead. You owe me." Relief crashed over him so hard he had to close his eyes. The story was dead. Ava's name would stay out of it. She could have the normal life she wanted, even if it meant she didn't want him in it. He texted back, "Thank you. I owe you everything." Then he texted Ava. "The story's not running. You're safe. I made sure of it." She didn't respond. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the day after that. A week went by. Then 2. Mason threw himself into work because it was easier than sitting at home thinking about what he'd lost. He took Chloe to school events he'd always skipped before, started showing up to family dinners, tried to rebuild the parts of his life that had nothing to do with the diner in Bridgeport. But the hole Ava left was massive and getting bigger. 3 weeks after their fight, Mason's mother cornered him at Sunday dinner. "You look terrible," she said. "Thanks, Mom." "I'm serious. You're not sleeping. You're barely eating. What's going on?" "Nothing." "Don't lie to me. Is this about the woman Jennifer mentioned, the one from the diner?" Mason set down his fork. "She doesn't want to see me anymore." "Why not?" "Because I didn't tell her who I was. And when she found out, she decided we were too different to make it work." His mother studied him. "Do you love her?" "Yeah, I do." "Then fight for her." "I tried. She doesn't want to be fought for." "Everyone wants to be fought for. They just don't always know how to ask." "What am I supposed to do? She made her choice. So make a different choice." His mother leaned forward. "You spent 3 years hiding from life after Sarah died. And I get it. Losing her nearly destroyed you. But this woman, whoever she is, she got you to come back, to actually live again. Are you really going to let her walk away without a fight?" "She's not walking away. I am. Because she asked me to." "And since when do you do what people ask?" Mason almost smiled. "Since I realized forcing myself on someone who doesn't want me makes me an asshole." There's a difference between forcing and persistence. Not to Ava. His mother sat back. "Ava. That's her name?" "Yeah." "Tell me about her." So he did. Told her about the diner and the terrible coffee and how Ava had worked 90 hours a week just to survive. About nursing school and anatomy flashcards and the way she'd stayed with them at the hospital when Chloe was sick. About how she made him feel like a person instead of a bank account. When he finished, his mother was smiling. "What?" Mason asked. "She sounds exactly like someone who'd be terrified of your world." "She is. And you love her anyway." "I do." "Then you need to show her that your world can be her world too, that she doesn't have to give up who she is to be with you." "How?" "I don't know. You're the genius CEO. Figure it out." Mason drove home thinking about what his mother had said. Show her your world can be her world too. But Ava didn't want his world. She wanted normal, simple. The life she would have had if her mother hadn't gotten sick and derailed everything. Unless an idea started forming. It was probably stupid, definitely risky, but it was the only thing he could think of that might actually work. He called Lauren. "I need you to set up a meeting," he said. "With who?" "Rush University Medical Center. I want to talk to their dean of nursing." "Why?" "Because I'm about to do something either really smart or really stupid. Those aren't mutually exclusive with you." Fair point. The meeting happened 2 days later. Mason sat across from Dr. Patricia Moore, a 60-something woman with steel gray hair and a handshake that could crack walnuts. "Mr. Reed," she said, "I have to admit, I'm curious why one of Chicago's most successful CEOs wants to talk to me about nursing education." "I want to fund a scholarship program," Mason said. "Full ride, tuition, books, living expenses, for students who can't afford to go to nursing school otherwise." Dr. Moore raised an eyebrow. "That's generous. How many scholarships are we talking about?" "As many as you can fill. 10 a year to start. More if there's demand." "That's a significant investment." "I can afford it." "I'm aware." She leaned forward. "What's the catch?" "No catch. I just want to help people who gave up on nursing school because life got in the way. People who deserve a second chance." Dr. Moore studied him. "This is about someone specific, isn't it? Is it that obvious? You're a tech CEO. You don't usually fund healthcare education unless there's a personal connection." Mason didn't see the point in lying. "There's someone. She wanted to be a nurse. Couldn't afford it. I'm trying to show her that other people deserve the same opportunity she finally got." "And you think funding scholarships will win her back?" "I think it might show her I understand what matters to her." Dr. Moore smiled. "I like you, Mr. Reed. Most donors come in here wanting their names on buildings. You want to help people. So you'll do it? On one condition." "What's that?" "You let us name the program after her." Mason blinked. "What?" "If this woman inspired you to fund nursing education, her name should be on it. It's only fair." "I don't know if she'd want that." "Ask her. If she says no, we'll name it after someone else. But give her the option." Mason thought about Ava's face when she told him about giving up nursing school. The bitterness mixed with longing. The way she'd said that ship had sailed like dreams had expiration dates. "The Ava Carter Scholarship Fund," he said. "Perfect. Let's make it happen." They shook on it. Walking out of the hospital, Mason felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. He drove straight to Ava's apartment. Didn't call first, didn't give himself time to overthink it. Just knocked on her door and waited. She opened it looking exhausted, like she hadn't been sleeping any better than he had. "Mason," she said, "what are you doing here?" "I need to show you something." "I don't want to." "Please, just give me 10 minutes. If you still want me to leave after that, I will. And I won't bother you again." Ava hesitated, then she grabbed her coat. They drove in silence to Rush University Medical Center. Ava kept asking where they were going. Mason kept saying she'd see. In Dr. Moore's office, he laid it all out. The scholarship fund. Full rides for people who couldn't afford nursing school. 10 students a year to start. Named after her. Ava stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "You're funding nursing scholarships," she said slowly. "Yeah. Because of me. Because you made me realize how many people out there are like you. Brilliant and dedicated, but stuck because they can't afford tuition. And you want to name it after me. If you'll let us." Ava looked at Dr. Moore. "Is he serious?" "Completely," Dr. Moore said. "The paperwork's already drawn up. We're accepting applications next month." "But I'm nobody. Why would you name a scholarship after me?" "Because you're not nobody," Mason said. "You're someone who gave up everything for family, who worked yourself to death just to survive, who went back to school at 30 because you refused to give up on your dreams. Those are exactly the kind of people this program should help." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll let us use your name. Say it matters that other people get the chances you almost didn't get." She wiped her eyes. "This doesn't fix us." "I know. You can't just throw money at every problem." "I know that too." "Then why are you doing this?" Mason took her hands. "Because I love you. And because even if you never want to see me again, I want to do something that would make you proud. Something that actually matters. Ava was crying openly now. Dr. Moore quietly excused herself. You're an idiot, Ava said. I know. You should have told me the truth from the beginning. I know. And this, she gestured at the office, this is completely insane. I know. But it's also the most incredible thing anyone's ever done for me. Mason's heart was beating so hard he could feel it in his throat. Does that mean, it means I'm still terrified of your world, of reporters, of becoming someone I'm not? You won't, I promise. You can't promise that. Then I promise I'll be with you through all of it. Every scary moment, every time someone treats you differently because of me. I'll be right there. Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she kissed him. It was different from before, desperate and certain at the same time, like she was making a choice that terrified her and choosing it anyway. When they broke apart, she was smiling through her tears. I'm going to regret this, she said. Probably. My life's going to get complicated. Definitely. And you're going to have to be patient with me when I freak out. I can do that. Ava leaned her forehead against his. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. For real this time, no more secrets. No more secrets, Mason agreed. And if it doesn't work, it will work. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because I'm not losing you again. Ava kissed him once more. You're still an idiot. As long as I'm your idiot. Don't push it. They left the hospital hand in hand. The evening was cold and clear, Chicago's lights spreading out in every direction. Can we tell Chloe? Ava asked. Tell her what? That I'm not mad anymore. She's probably been worried. Mason's chest tightened with something that felt like joy. She's been a wreck. Then let's go tell her together. They did. And when Chloe saw Ava walk through the door, she launched herself into her arms like a missile. You came back, Chloe sobbed. I did, Ava said, holding her tight. I'm sorry I was gone so long. Don't leave again. I won't. I promise. Mason watched them, his daughter and the woman he loved, and thought about how close he'd come to losing this, to losing everything that actually mattered. His phone buzzed, text from his mother. Did you figure it out? He typed back, yeah, I think I did. Getting back together turned out to be the easy part. Actually, being together was harder than either of them expected. The first real test came 2 weeks later when Mason's company threw their annual investor dinner. Black tie, 500 guests, the kind of event where fortunes changed hands over cocktails and small talk. Mason had been dreading it for months. Now he was dreading it for entirely different reasons. You don't have to come, he told Ava for the third time that week. They were at his penthouse. Ava had finally agreed to see where he lived, and she'd spent the first 10 minutes walking around touching things like she was in a museum. How much did this couch cost? She'd asked. I don't know. Lauren bought it. You don't know how much your couch cost? It's a couch. You sit on it. Mason, this couch costs more than my car. Your car's held together with duct tape and prayers. That's not the point. Now they were standing in his bedroom, which was bigger than her entire apartment, and he was trying to convince her not to come to an event she'd already agreed to attend. I want to go, Ava said. You hate these things. I've never been to one. How do I know I hate them? Because I hate them. And I've been to 100. Ava was looking through his closet, which contained more suits than one person could possibly need. Is this what rich people do? Just collect clothes? Lauren buys them. I wear them. That's the extent of my involvement. You have like 30 suits in here. I'm aware. She pulled out a navy one. Wear this. Why that one? Because it's the only one that doesn't look like you're trying to intimidate someone. Mason took the suit. What are you going to wear? Ava's face went carefully blank. I don't know yet. Did you get a dress? I'm working on it. Ava. What? The dinner's in 3 days. I know when the dinner is. So do you have a dress or not? She sat down on the edge of his bed, which she'd also asked the price of and been horrified by the answer. I went shopping. Everything either didn't fit right or cost more than my rent or made me look like I was playing dress up. So let me buy you something. No. Why not? Because that's exactly the kind of thing I said I wouldn't do. Let you buy your way through our problems. Buying you a dress for an event I'm forcing you to attend isn't buying my way through anything. It's basic courtesy. It's also $3,000. How do you know how much dresses cost? I looked. Ava's voice was tight. I looked at what other women wear to these things, and I looked at the price tags, and I realized I can't afford to be in your world. Mason sat down next to her. That's not true. It is true. Your life costs money I don't have, and I can't keep letting you pay for everything. Why not? Because that makes me dependent on you, and if this doesn't work out, it's going to work out. You don't know that. And if it doesn't, I need to still be able to take care of myself. Mason understood what she wasn't saying, that she'd lost everything once before, that depending on someone else had left her broke and alone, that she was terrified of ending up back there. Okay, he said. What if it's a loan? Ava gave him a look. Like the tuition? Exactly like the tuition. You know I'm never paying that back, right? I know, but it makes you feel better to call it a loan. You're manipulating me. I'm compromising. Ava was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I'll borrow a dress, but I'm paying you back. Deal. In like 40 years when I'm a rich nurse. Nurses don't get rich. Then I guess you're stuck waiting. He kissed her. I can live with that. The dress arrived the next day. Mason had asked Lauren to handle it, which meant it was perfect. Simple black, elegant without being flashy, the kind of thing that would help Ava blend in rather than stand out. She tried it on in his bathroom and came out looking terrified. I can't wear this, she said. Why not? It's perfect. It's too nice. I'm going to spill something on it. Then we'll get it cleaned. Mason, this dress costs more than I made in a month at the diner. It's just fabric sewn together in a specific shape. That's the worst description of fashion I've ever heard. I'm a tech CEO. Fashion isn't my strong suit. Clearly. But she was smiling. The night of the dinner, Mason picked her up from her apartment. She was ready early, pacing in her kitchen, wearing the dress and heels she'd practiced walking in for 2 days. You look beautiful, he said. I look like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. You look like you. Rich me, fake me. There's no fake you, there's just you in different clothes. Ava grabbed her clutch, also borrowed from Lauren. I'm going to say something stupid. I know I am. I'm going to use the wrong fork or laugh at the wrong time or... Mason took her hands. Nobody cares about forks. Rich people definitely care about forks. Rich people care about money. Everything else is just performance. That's not reassuring. It should be, because you're not performing. You're just being yourself. And that's better than anything anyone else in that room is doing. She took a shaky breath. Okay. Okay? Let's do this before I change my mind. The dinner was at the Four Seasons. Valet parking, red carpet, photographers catching arrivals. Mason had warned Ava about the photographers, but seeing them in person was different. Are they going to take our picture? She whispered. Probably. What do I do? Smile, walk, don't trip. Super helpful. They made it through the gauntlet without incident. Inside, the ballroom was exactly what Ava had feared. Chandeliers, ice sculptures, people in clothes that cost more than cars. Everyone looked comfortable, like they belonged. Ava looked like she wanted to run. Stay close, Mason said quietly. I wasn't planning on wandering. They made it about 10 feet before someone intercepted them. Mason, haven't seen you at one of these in years. It was Richard Chen, a venture capitalist Mason had worked with on his Series B funding. 60 years old, worth about $800 million. The kind of guy who thought talking about money was crass but did it anyway. Richard, Mason said. Good to see you. Richard's eyes slid to Ava. And who's this? This is Ava Carter. Ava? Richard Chen. Ava shook his hand. Nice to meet you. Carter, Richard repeated. Any relation to the Boston Carters? No, just the Pilsen Carters. Richard looked confused. Mason suppressed a smile. Ava's a nursing student, he said. Oh. Richard's expression shifted, like he'd just recalculated her worth and found it wanting. That's nice. We need more nurses. We do, Ava agreed. An awkward silence followed. Then Richard's wife appeared, a woman who'd clearly had excellent plastic surgery, and pulled him away to meet someone more important. That was awful, Ava muttered. That was typical. He looked at me like I was the help. He looks at everyone like that. It's not personal. It felt personal. Mason steered her toward the bar. You want a drink? I want to leave. We've been here 5 minutes, and I already hate it. Give it 30 minutes. If you still hate it, we'll go. She agreed, but Mason could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she held herself like she was expecting an attack. The next hour was a parade of identical conversations. People asking what Ava did. Ava saying she was in nursing school. People saying, "Oh, that's nice," in tones that clearly meant, "How disappointing." Nobody was overtly rude, but nobody was particularly welcoming either, except Mason's business partner, David, who cornered them near the silent auction. "So you're the mystery woman," he said. Ava looked at Mason. "Mystery woman?" "I may have mentioned you," Mason said. "May have," David laughed. He's been useless for months, missing meetings, leaving early, actually smiling occasionally. I figured it was either a woman or a nervous breakdown. Could have been both, Mason said. Fair point. David stuck out his hand. David Park. I've known this idiot since college. Ava shook it. Ava Carter. I've known him since he started lying about being a billionaire. David's eyebrows shot up. You didn't tell her? It didn't come up. How does that not come up? Very carefully, Mason said. David grinned. I like her. She's normal. I'm standing right here, Ava said. Sorry, I meant that as a compliment. Most of the women Mason dated before were... He trailed off. Were what? Ava asked. Let's just say they were very interested in Reed Technologies' quarterly earnings. And I'm not? Are you? I don't even know what quarterly earnings are. David looked at Mason. Marry this one. He wandered off before either of them could respond. Ava turned to Mason. You dated women who cared about quarterly earnings? I dated women who cared about money. And I'm different because I'm poor? You're different because you care about things that actually matter. Like what? Like sick kids, and whether people have access to health care, and making sure Chloe eats vegetables even when she doesn't want to. Ava's expression softened. She told you about the vegetables? She said you hid broccoli in her mac and cheese. Desperate times. She ate it. I know, I'm a genius. Mason pulled her closer. You really are. They made it through dinner, which involved too many courses and too much wine and a speech from the CEO that went on for 20 minutes too long. Ava sat next to Mason, navigating the silverware with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb. You're doing fine, he whispered. I used the salad fork for the appetizer. Nobody noticed. I noticed. You're the only one who cares. After dinner, there was dancing. Mason hated dancing, always had. But watching other couples take the floor, he realized Ava was staring at them with something like longing. You want to dance? He asked. Do you? Not even a little bit. Then why are you asking? Because you want to. Ava bit her lip. I don't know how. Neither do I. You went to like private school and charity balls and stuff. You definitely know how. I know how to shuffle awkwardly while trying not to step on anyone's feet. That's not the same as dancing. She smiled. Okay, let's shuffle awkwardly together. They did. Mason's hand on her waist, her hand in his, moving in something that resembled a waltz if you were very generous with the definition. People are staring, Ava whispered. Let them. They're probably wondering why you're dancing with the poor girl. They're probably wondering who the woman is who got me to actually attend one of these things. You really hate them that much? I really hate them that much. Then why do you come? Because it's expected, because investors like to see you, because avoiding them entirely makes people nervous. That's stupid. Welcome to my world. Ava looked around the ballroom, the chandeliers, the designer gowns, the men in tuxedos worth more than her nursing tuition. I don't think I fit here. Good. I don't want you to fit here. I want you to stay exactly who you are. Even if who I am embarrasses you? Mason stopped dancing. You could never embarrass me. You say that now, but eventually nothing. You're the best thing that's happened to me in years, and anyone who can't see that isn't worth impressing. Ava's eyes were bright. You're going to make me cry and ruin my makeup. Lauren can fix it. Lauren's not here. Then cry anyway. I don't care. She didn't cry, but she held him tighter, and they danced until the song ended and another one started. When they finally left around 11, Ava kicked off her heels the second they got to the car. My feet are dying, she said. Beauty is pain. Beauty is stupid. You looked incredible. I looked like I was playing dress-up. You looked like you belonged there. Ava turned to face him. I didn't belong there, Mason. Those aren't my people. They're not really my people either. Yes, they are. You went to school with them. You work with them. You speak their language. And I hate every second of it. But you can do it. I can't. Mason reached for her hand. You made it through tonight. That's what matters. Barely, and that was one dinner. What happens when there's another one? And another? When I have to keep pretending to be someone I'm not? You're not pretending. I used the wrong fork, Mason. I didn't know what half the food was. I had no idea what people were talking about when they mentioned the Hamptons and Aspen and whatever other rich people places they go. So? So eventually someone's going to say something mean or write something or take a picture of me looking stupid and put it online. Then we'll deal with it. How? Together. Ava pulled her hand away. You keep saying that, but you don't understand what it's like to be the one who doesn't fit. You've always belonged everywhere you go. That's not true. It is true. You're successful and rich and confident. I'm a nursing student who works at a diner worked, past tense, and doesn't know which fork to use. We're not the same, Mason. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, that they were more alike than she thought. But the truth was, she had a point. He'd grown up with money, not billions, but enough that he'd never worried about rent or groceries or whether he could afford new shoes. He'd gone to private school, then Stanford, then built a company that made him obscenely wealthy. Ava had grown up paycheck to paycheck, had given up college to take care of her dying mother, had worked herself to exhaustion just to survive. They weren't the same, but that didn't mean they couldn't work. You're right, Mason said quietly. Ava looked surprised. What? You're right. We're different. We come from different worlds, and mine is full of people who are going to judge you for not knowing which fork to use or where you went to school or how much money you have. So what are we supposed to do? We decide that their opinions don't matter, that the only thing that matters is us. That's easy to say when you're the one everyone already respects. And it's harder when you're not. I get it, but Ava, he turned to face her fully. I love you. Not despite where you come from, but because of it. Because you're real and honest and you don't give a damn about quarterly earnings. She almost smiled. I still don't know what those are, and I hope you never do. They sat in the car for a while, the engine running, heat blasting against the February cold. Finally, Ava said, I want this to work. Me too. But I'm scared. Of what? Of losing myself. Of becoming someone I don't recognize because I'm trying to fit into your life. Mason took her hand again. Then we make a deal. Right now. You promise to tell me if you feel like you're losing yourself. And I promise to never ask you to be anyone other than who you are. What if who I am isn't enough? It's more than enough. It's everything. Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she leaned over and kissed him. Okay, she said against his lips. Deal. The next few months were a careful balancing act. Ava dove deeper into nursing school. Clinical rotations, exams, late nights studying anatomy and pharmacology, and everything in between. She was exhausted constantly, running on coffee and determination. Mason tried to help where he could, brought her food when she forgot to eat, quizzed her on medications and procedures, sat quietly in her apartment while she studied, just being there. And slowly, carefully, they started building something that felt like a real life together. Chloe was the easy part. She adored Ava. Started asking when Ava was coming over, when they could see her, why she couldn't just live with them all the time. Because Ava has her own apartment, Mason explained. So she could get a new apartment here. It's not that simple, kiddo. Why not? Because asking Ava to move in felt too fast. Because she was already struggling with how much her life had changed. because pushing for more when they were still figuring out the basics seemed like a good way to lose everything. Because adults are complicated, Mason said instead. That's a dumb answer. Yep, but Chloe had a point. They were spending most nights together anyway, either at Ava's tiny apartment or Mason's massive penthouse. The commute was killing Ava, especially on clinical rotation days when she had to be at the hospital by 6 in the morning. It was Ava who brought it up first. They were at his place, Ava sprawled on his stupidly expensive couch, Mason making dinner in the kitchen. Or trying to. He was pretty sure pasta wasn't supposed to stick together like concrete, but here they were. What if I moved in? Ava called from the living room. Mason dropped the spoon. What? Moving in. What if I did it? He walked into the living room. Ava was still lying down, staring at the ceiling. Are you serious? He asked. I think so. Maybe. I don't know. She sat up. My lease is up next month, and I'm here most of the time anyway. And Chloe keeps asking, and it would be easier for school. Those are all practical reasons. You want an impractical reason? I want to know if you actually want to live here, not if it makes logistical sense. Ava looked around this penthouse, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the designer furniture, the art on the walls that probably cost more than a house. This place still doesn't feel like me. We can change that. How? Buy different art? Sure. Or get rid of the art entirely, fill it with nursing textbooks and Chloe's drawings and whatever else makes it feel like home. Your couch costs more than my car. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. Mason sat down next to her. Here's the thing. I hate this place. I've always hated it. It's too big, too empty, too much a reminder that I built this life for someone who isn't here anymore. Ava's expression softened. Mason. But with you here, it's different. With you and Chloe, it actually feels like somewhere I want to be. He took her hand. So yeah, the couch is stupidly expensive and the art is pretentious and the whole place screams, rich person lives here. But if you moved in, it could be ours. We could make it whatever we want. Even if what I want is to replace your fancy couch with something from IKEA. Even then. You're serious? Completely. Ava was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Okay, let's do it. But I'm keeping my security deposit and paying you rent. You're not paying rent. Then I'm not moving in. Ava, I'm serious, Mason. I need to contribute something. Otherwise, it feels like I'm just living off you. He wanted to argue, to tell her that money didn't matter, that he had more than he could ever spend, that the idea of charging her rent was insane. But he was learning that Ava needed to feel like an equal partner, even when the math didn't work out that way. Fine, he said. You can pay rent, but I'm setting it at $1 a month. That's ridiculous. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. Ava laughed despite herself. You're impossible. Is that a yes? It's a yes. He kissed her. Good. Because Chloe's going to lose her mind. She did. When Mason told her Ava was moving in, Chloe screamed so loud the neighbors probably called the police. She spent the next week planning where Ava's things would go, which room could be her study space, whether they should get a dog now that they were a real family. We're already a real family, Mason said, but we'd be more real with a dog. That's not how it works. Can we at least think about it? No. What if Ava wants a dog? Then Ava can get a dog. Ava, overhearing this conversation, laughed. I don't want a dog. Chloe's face fell. But, Ava added, we could maybe think about a cat. Chloe's face transformed. Really? Really? Mason looked at Ava. We're getting a cat? Apparently, we're getting a cat. They got a cat. A scraggly orange tabby from the shelter that Chloe named Pancake. The cat hated everyone except Ava, which Mason found both annoying and weirdly appropriate. Even the cat likes you better than me, he complained. That's because I have a nurturing personality. And I have what? A CEO personality. Very intimidating. Pancake doesn't respect that. The cat proved Ava's point by hissing at Mason and then curling up in Ava's lap. Traitor, Mason muttered. Moving Ava in was easier than he expected. She didn't have much. Clothes, books, a few pieces of furniture from her apartment that she insisted on keeping even though his place was fully furnished. I'm not getting rid of my grandmother's chair, she said. It doesn't match anything. I don't care. It's the only thing I have left of her. So the chair, a floral monstrosity that absolutely did not match the modern aesthetic, went in the corner of the bedroom, and somehow it made the whole place feel more like home. They settled into a rhythm, Ava studying at the kitchen table while Mason worked on his laptop, Chloe doing homework nearby, Pancake supervising from various perches. Dinner together most nights, either takeout or Mason's increasingly less terrible attempts at cooking. It wasn't perfect. Ava still struggled with the wealth disparity. Got uncomfortable when Mason bought things without thinking. A new laptop for her studies, fresh flowers for the kitchen, dinner at restaurants where the bill made her physically ill. "We can't keep spending money like this," she said one night. "Like what?" "Like it doesn't matter." "It doesn't matter. Like, it matters to me." "Why?" "Because normal people don't spend $200 on dinner." "We're not normal people." "You're not normal people, I am." Mason set down his fork. "You keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Separating us. You and me. Normal and not normal. Like we're fundamentally different species." "We are different." "In some ways, sure. But in the ways that matter, we're exactly the same. We both want Chloe to be happy. We both want to build a life that means something. We both hate the investor dinners and the charity galas and all the performative bullshit that comes with money. But you have to do those things. I don't. So we do them together, and we support each other through it." Ava looked at her plate. "I'm trying. I really am. But sometimes I look around this place and I forget how I got here. Like I'm going to wake up and realize it was all a dream, and I'm back in my apartment eating ramen." Mason reached across the table. "It's not a dream. You're here because I love you and you love me. Not because of money. Not because I rescued you. Because we chose each other." "I know. Logically, I know that. But the voice in my head keeps saying I don't deserve this." "That voice is wrong." "Is it? Because most people work their whole lives and never get to live like this. And I fell into it by accident." "You didn't fall into anything. You earned it. Every single day when you were working 90 hours a week to survive. When you gave up your dreams to take care of your mom. When you went back to school even though you were terrified. You earned every good thing that's happened to you." Ava's eyes were bright. "You really believe that?" "I know it." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For being patient with me. For not getting frustrated when I freak out about money or feel like I don't belong." "You do belong. Here, with us. This is your home." "I'm starting to believe that." "Good. Because I'm not letting you leave." She smiled. "Kidnapping is illegal, you know." "So sue me." "I can't afford a lawyer." "I'll buy you one." Ava threw a napkin at him. "That's not how suing works." But she was laughing. And Mason realized that these moments, the stupid conversations, the easy affection, the way they could go from serious to silly in seconds, these were the moments that made everything else worth it. The investor dinners, the reporters, the constant negotiation between two different worlds, all of it was worth it for this. For her. Spring came slowly to Chicago. The snow melted, revealing all the garbage it had been hiding for months. The trees started budding. People emerged from their winter hibernation looking pale and slightly confused. Ava finished her first year of nursing school with grades that made Mason irrationally proud. "You realize I'm going to brag about this to everyone, right?" he said, looking at her transcript. "Please don't." "Too late. I'm already composing the email." Mason. "What?" "My girlfriend's brilliant. I'm allowed to be proud." "Your girlfriend is tired and hungry and really wants pizza." "I can make that happen." They ordered pizza and ate it on the couch while Chloe told them about the end-of-year field trip to the Science Museum. Pancake supervised from the back of the sofa, occasionally swatting at Mason's head. It was perfect. Perfectly normal. Perfectly theirs. And for the first time since Sarah died, Mason felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Summer hit Chicago like a promise kept. The kind of weather that made people forget winter ever existed, sitting on rooftops, drinking beer, and pretending the cold wouldn't come back in 4 months. Mason had forgotten what summer felt like with someone to share it with. He and Ava took Chloe to the beach on weekends, building sandcastles and eating ice cream that melted faster than they could finish it. They went to street festivals in neighborhoods Mason had never visited, eating food from trucks and listening to bands that would never make it big but didn't seem to care. It was the most normal Mason's life had ever been, which made it terrifying when everything almost fell apart again. It started with a phone call from his mother. "I'm having a garden party," she announced. "Next Saturday. You're coming." "I don't do garden parties." "You do now. I'm introducing you to someone." Mason's stomach dropped. "Mom, her name is Patricia. She's a partner at a law firm downtown. Divorced, no children, very accomplished." "I have a girlfriend." "You have a nursing student who lives with you. That's not the same thing." Mason felt his jaw tighten. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you need to think about your future, about Chloe's future, about what kind of woman you want raising her." "I want Ava raising her." His mother sighed. "Mason, I know you think you're in love. I am in love. But this woman is not from our world. She doesn't understand our expectations, our obligations. Eventually, that's going to become a problem. It's not a problem now, because you're still in the honeymoon phase. Wait until the reality sets in. Wait until she realizes what being with you actually means." "She already knows what it means. Does she? Has she been to the club, met your friends, attended a proper family dinner?" Mason went quiet. Because no, Ava hadn't done any of those things. He'd been protecting her from them, knowing how uncomfortable they'd make her feel. "That's what I thought," his mother said. "Bring her to the party. Let's see how she handles herself." She hung up before he could respond. Mason sat staring at his phone, feeling the old familiar weight settling on his chest. The weight of expectations, of family obligations, of a world that had rules Ava didn't know and wouldn't want to learn. He could skip the party, but his mother would just create another opportunity, another test, another chance to prove that Ava didn't belong. Better to get it over with. When he told Ava about the party, she went pale. "Your mother wants to meet me. She's already met you at Chloe's school thing last month. That was 5 minutes in a hallway. This is different. It's just a garden party. At your mother's house, with your family, and your friends, and everyone who thinks I'm not good enough for you." "Nobody thinks that." Ava gave him a look. "Your mother literally set you up with a lawyer. Patricia's a family friend. It doesn't mean anything. It means your mother thinks I'm temporary, that eventually you'll come to your senses and date someone appropriate." Mason sat down next to her on the couch. "My mother's opinion doesn't matter." "Yes, it does. She's your family. And you're my family too." "That's not the same thing." "It is to me." Ava was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What if I mess this up?" "You won't." "You don't know that. What if I say something stupid, or wear the wrong thing, or use the wrong fork again?" "Then you say something stupid and wear the wrong thing and use the wrong fork. So what?" "So your mother will judge me. Your family will judge me. Everyone will think you made a mistake." Mason took her hands. "Listen to me. The only mistake I could make is letting you believe that their opinions matter more than what we have. We're building a life together, you, me, and Chloe. That's what's real. Everything else is just noise." Easy to say when you're not the one being judged. "You think I'm not being judged? My mother's been questioning my choices since I was 12. It's what she does. But I stopped letting it control me a long time ago." Ava looked at him. "So what do? We go to the party, we smile and make small talk and eat tiny sandwiches, and then we leave and come home and remember that none of it matters. What if it matters to your mother? Then that's her problem, not ours." Ava took a shaky breath. "Okay, let's do this." "Yeah? Yeah, but I'm wearing jeans. My mother will have a stroke." "Good." She didn't actually wear jeans, but she didn't wear the designer dress Mason offered to buy either. Instead, she found something in between, a simple sundress from Target that cost $30 and looked perfect on her. "You're making a statement," Mason said when he saw it. "I'm being myself." "That's what I meant." The party was at his mother's estate in Lake Forest, 40 minutes north of the city, the kind of place with gates and a circular driveway and enough land that you couldn't see the neighbors. Chloe came with them, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself and already complaining about the tights. "Why do I have to wear tights?" she asked for the 10th time. "Because Grandma's old-fashioned," Mason said. "Tights are stupid." Agreed. Ava reached back from the passenger seat and squeezed Chloe's hand. We'll take them off as soon as we get home. Promise? Promise. The driveway was already full of cars when they arrived. Expensive cars, the kind that cost more than houses. Mason parked between a Tesla and a Porsche and felt Ava tense beside him. "It's going to be fine," he said. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true. Or because you're trying to convince yourself." Fair point. They walked around to the back garden, where 50 or 60 people were scattered across the lawn drinking champagne and pretending to care about each other's vacations. Mason's mother spotted them immediately. "Mason! Finally!" She descended on them wearing a dress that probably cost more than Ava's monthly tuition. "And you must be Ava. How lovely to see you again." "Mrs. Reed," Ava said. "Thank you for inviting me." "Of course. Any friend of Mason's is welcome here." The emphasis on friend was subtle but clear. Chloe hugged her grandmother, oblivious to the tension. "Can I go play with Emma?" she asked, spotting her cousin across the lawn. "Go ahead," Mason said. Chloe ran off, and Mason's mother turned her attention back to Ava. "What a charming dress," she said. "Thank you. I got it at Target." Mason suppressed a smile. Ava wasn't even trying to play the game. His mother's expression flickered, just for a second, before the polite mask returned. "How practical. Mason tells me you're in nursing school." "I am. Just finished my first year. That must be very rewarding work. We need more people willing to do service jobs." "Service jobs?" Mason felt his jaw clench, but Ava just smiled. "It is rewarding. I get to help people during the worst moments of their lives. Not everyone can handle that kind of responsibility." "I'm sure." His mother glanced at Mason. "Patricia's by the bar. You should go say hello." "I'm good here." "Don't be rude, Mason. She came all this way." "Then I'll be rude from a distance." His mother's eyes narrowed. But before she could respond, Jennifer appeared with her husband and kids in tow. "Mason, you made it!" She hugged him, then turned to Ava. "And you must be the famous Ava. I've heard so much about you." "All good, I hope." "Mostly good. Mason said you convinced him to get a cat." "Pancake," Ava confirmed. "He's orange and angry." "Perfect. Cats should be angry." Jennifer linked her arm through Ava's. "Come on, let me introduce you to people who won't judge your dress." She steered Ava away before their mother could protest. Mason's mother turned to him. "She's very wonderful, brilliant, the best thing that's happened to me in years." Unprepared for this life. "She's more prepared than half the people here. At least she's genuine." "Genuine doesn't navigate society dinners." "Good thing I hate society dinners." His mother sighed. "You're being deliberately difficult." "I'm being honest. Ava makes me happy. She makes Chloe happy. That's all that matters." "And when the novelty wears off? When you realize she can't be the partner you need?" "She already is the partner I need." "Mason." "No, Mom. I know you mean well. I know you want what's best for me. But Ava is what's best for me. And if you can't accept that, we're going to have a problem." His mother looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "You really love her." "I really do." "Even though she's completely wrong for you on paper?" "Especially because she's wrong for me on paper. Because paper doesn't mean anything. What matters is how I feel when I'm with her, how Chloe feels, how we've built something real together." His mother's expression softened slightly. "Your father would have liked her." Mason blinked. "What?" "Your father. He would have liked her. She's got spine. He always appreciated that." It was the closest thing to approval his mother had ever given anyone Mason dated. "Thanks, Mom." "Don't thank me yet. I'm still introducing you to Patricia." "Of course you are." She walked away and Mason went to find Ava. She was standing with Jennifer and a group of women Mason vaguely recognized from various family events. They were all laughing about something, and Ava looked more relaxed than she had all day. "What did I miss?" Mason asked. "Jennifer was telling us about the time you got stuck in a tree," Ava said. "I was 7. "You were 12, Jennifer corrected, "and the fire department had to come." "That's not how I remember it." "That's because you were traumatized." The women laughed again, and Mason realized Ava was fitting in better than he'd hoped. Not because she was trying to impress anyone, because she was being herself. The afternoon wore on. Mason introduced Ava to cousins and family friends and people he barely remembered. Some were welcoming, others were politely cold, A few asked questions designed to make her uncomfortable. Where did she grow up? What did her parents do? Where did she go to school? Ava answered honestly. Pilsen. Her father left when she was young. Public school. And every honest answer made Mason love her more. Around 4, Patricia the lawyer cornered them near the dessert table. Mason, your mother said I should come say hello. She was exactly what Mason expected, perfectly put together, designer everything, the kind of smile that looked practiced in a mirror. Patricia, Mason said, this is Ava Carter, my girlfriend. He emphasized girlfriend, just in case there was any confusion. Patricia's smile didn't waver. How nice to meet you. Mason and I go way back. So I've heard, Ava said. Has he told you about the summer we spent in Martha's Vineyard? We were inseparable. We were 16, Mason said, and your family rented the house next door. Still, such fond memories. This was painful. If you'll excuse us, Mason said, I need to steal Ava for a minute. He guided her away before Patricia could launch into more reminiscing. Sorry about that, he said. It's fine. It's not fine. My mother's being obvious. Your mother wants you to date someone who summered in Martha's Vineyard. I get it. I don't care what my mother wants. I know. Ava stopped walking. But she has a point. About what? About me being unprepared for this. Look around, Mason. Everyone here speaks the same language, went to the same schools, vacations in the same places. And then there's me, the girl from Pilsen who shops at Target. And you're better than all of them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't fit, and I'm okay with that. But you need to be okay with it too. Mason pulled her closer. I am okay with it. I don't want you to fit. I want you to be exactly who you are. Even if it embarrasses you? You could never embarrass me. Your mother looked at my dress like I'd shown up in pajamas. My mother's a snob. Ignore her. I'm trying. But everywhere I turn, someone's asking me questions that make it clear I don't belong in your world. Then screw my world. We'll build our own. Ava smiled despite herself. You can't just build your own world. Why not? I built a company from nothing. How hard can a world be? Mason, I'm serious. You, me, and Chloe. That's our world. Everything else is just extras. Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, Okay. Okay? Let's build our own world, but I get to pick the furniture. Deal. They found Chloe playing with her cousins in the garden. She'd lost the tights somewhere, and her dress was grass-stained, but she looked happier than Mason had seen her all day. Can we go home? She asked when she saw them. You don't want to stay? This place is boring. Can we get pizza instead? Mason looked at Ava. Pizza sounds perfect. They said their goodbyes. Mason's mother kissing his cheek and whispering that they needed to talk later. Jennifer hugging Ava and telling her she was welcome any time, Patricia giving a little wave that felt loaded with subtext. In the car, Ava let out a long breath. That was exhausting, she said. You did great. I told 3 different people I shop at Target. Good. Your mother hates me. My mother doesn't hate you. She's just concerned. Same thing. Chloe leaned forward from the back seat. I liked Ava's dress. Thank you, sweetheart, Ava said. It was way better than Grandma's. Don't tell her that. I won't. Grandma's scary. Mason laughed. She is a little scary. They got pizza from their favorite place in Bridgeport, not far from where Daisy's Grill used to be before Ray retired and sold the building. Ate it in the penthouse while Pancake begged for scraps, and Chloe told them about every single game she'd played with her cousins. Later, after Chloe was in bed, Mason found Ava standing at the window looking out at the city. What are you thinking? He asked. That your mother's right. About what? About me being unprepared. I don't know how to do this, Mason. How to be the partner a billionaire CEO needs. Mason stood behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. I don't need a partner who knows how to navigate society parties. I need a partner who makes me want to be better, who reminds me what actually matters, who loves my daughter like she's her own. I do love her. I know. And she loves you. That's worth more than all the Martha's Vineyard summers in the world. Ava turned to face him. What if it's not enough? It will be. Because we're not trying to fit into anyone else's life. We're building our own. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. Mason paused. Actually, I've been thinking about it. Building our own life. What do you mean? He'd been planning this for weeks, had the ring in his sock drawer. But standing here in his overpriced penthouse looking at the woman he loved, Mason realized he didn't want to wait for the perfect moment. This was the perfect moment. He dropped to one knee. Ava's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. I don't have the ring on me right now, which is stupid, but I couldn't wait anymore. Mason took her hand. Ava Carter, you walked into my life when I was drowning, when I'd forgotten what it felt like to actually live instead of just existing. You made me laugh again, made me want to be present for my daughter, made me remember that wealth isn't measured in money. Ava was crying. I know we're from different worlds, Mason continued. I know my family's complicated, and my life comes with expectations and obligations you never asked for. But I also know that I love you more than I thought I could love anyone again, and I want to spend the rest of my life building a world with you. One where we make our own rules, where Target dresses are perfect and pizza is gourmet, and the only thing that matters is how we feel about each other. He looked up at her. Will you marry me? Ava was full-on sobbing now. You don't have a ring. I have a ring. It's in my sock drawer. I wasn't planning to do this tonight. Your sock drawer? It seemed like a good hiding place. That's the worst hiding place I've ever heard. Is that a no? That's a yes, you idiot. Ava pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Yes? Of course yes. Yeah? Yeah, but we're getting that ring out of your sock drawer right now because that's insane. Mason laughed and led her to the bedroom. The ring was in a small box underneath his running socks, which he never used, making it an even worse hiding place than Ava thought. He opened the box. Ava stared at the ring. It was simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the light without being ostentatious. It was Sarah's, Mason said quietly. Her engagement ring. I had it reset, made it different. But I wanted you to have something that connected to Chloe's mom, to the family you're becoming part of. Ava's eyes filled with fresh tears. Mason, if you don't want it, I can get you something else. Something that's just yours. I won't be offended. No, I love it. It's perfect. She held out her hand. Put it on. He did. The ring fit perfectly, like it was made for her. Like everything about this was exactly right. I'm going to tell Chloe, Ava said. Can I tell her? Right now, it's 10 o'clock. I don't care. I want to tell her. They went to Chloe's room together. She was still awake, reading under the covers with a flashlight. You're supposed to be asleep, Mason said. I'm not tired. Chloe looked at them. Why are you guys being weird? Ava sat on the edge of the bed. I have something to tell you. What? Your dad asked me to marry him. Chloe's eyes went huge. Really? Really? Is that okay with you? Are you kidding? That's amazing. Chloe launched herself at Ava, nearly knocking her over. Does this mean you're going to be my mom? Ava looked at Mason, then back at Chloe. If you want me to be, I want you to be. I've wanted you to be forever. Forever's only been about a year, kiddo, Mason said. That's basically forever. Ava laughed through her tears. Then yes, I'll be your mom. Chloe hugged her tighter. This is the best day ever. They stayed in Chloe's room until she finally fell asleep, too excited to keep her eyes open. Then they went back to their room and lay in bed holding each other. We're getting married, Ava said. We are. Your mother's going to hate this. Probably. She'll try to talk you out of it. She can try. Ava rolled over to face him. I'm serious, Mason. This is going to make your life more complicated. My life was already complicated. You just made it worth living. That's cheesy. It's true. She kissed him. I love you. I love you too. Even though I'm from Pilsen and shop at Target. Especially because you're from Pilsen and shop at Target. You're ridiculous. And you're stuck with me now. I guess I am. They got married 4 months later, not at a country club or a hotel ballroom or any of the venues Mason's mother suggested. They got married at Daisy's Grill. Ray had retired and the new owners were turning it into a trendy gastropub, but they agreed to let Mason rent it for a day. He hired people to clean it up, decorate it, transform it into something special while still keeping the bones of the place that had brought him and Ava together. The guest list was small. Family, close friends, a few people from Ava's nursing program. Jennifer stood as Ava's maid of honor because they'd become close over the past months. David was Mason's best man, mostly because he'd threatened to boycott the wedding if he wasn't. Chloe was the flower girl. She took the job very seriously, practicing her walk for weeks. The ceremony was short. Mason and Ava had written their own vows, and they kept them simple. "I promise to love you even when you're stressed about exams," Mason said. "To bring you coffee when you're studying. To never make you feel like you have to be anyone other than who you are." Ava's vows were equally simple. "I promise to love you even when you're being a workaholic. To remind you that money doesn't solve everything. To be the family you and Chloe deserve." They kissed to applause and cheering. Mason's mother was in the front row. She was crying, which surprised him. After the ceremony, she pulled him aside. "I was wrong about her," she said. "What?" "I was wrong. She's good for you, good for Chloe. I can see that now." Mason didn't know what to say. His mother smiled. "Your father would have loved her. The way she doesn't take any of this too seriously, the way she keeps you grounded. Thanks, Mom. Don't thank me. Just be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you." She walked away, and Mason stood there feeling like he'd crossed some threshold he hadn't known existed. The reception was exactly what they'd wanted. Good food, bad dancing, people from completely different worlds mixing together like it was the most natural thing in the world. At one point, Mason found himself standing at the bar next to one of Ava's classmates, a woman named Rosa who'd grown up 3 blocks from where Ava had. "You did good," Rosa said. "With what?" "With her. She deserves someone who sees how amazing she is." "I'm the lucky one." "Nah, you're both lucky. That's how it's supposed to work." She was right. Later, during the father-daughter dance, Chloe looked up at him. "Are you happy, Dad?" "I'm very happy." "Because of Ava?" "Because of both of you. You two are my whole world." "That's cheesy." "Where did you learn that word?" "Ava says it all the time." Mason laughed. "Yeah, she does." When the dance ended, Ava cut in. "My turn," she said. They swayed together while the DJ played something slow and romantic. "Thank you," Ava said. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For being patient when I was scared. For building a life I didn't think I could have. We built it together." "I know, but you started it. That day in the diner when you could have gone anywhere and you chose there. Best decision I ever made. Better than starting a billion-dollar company? Way better." Ava smiled. "You're ridiculous. You keep saying that because it keeps being true." They danced until the song ended and another began. Around them, their family and friends celebrated. Chloe was teaching Pancake, who they'd somehow managed to sneak into the venue, to high-five. Jennifer was laughing with Rosa about something. Mason's mother was talking to Ray about the diner's history. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect. Mason pulled Ava closer. "I love you. I love you too. Even though my mother tried to set me up with a lawyer? Especially because of that. It makes this victory even sweeter. You're terrible. And you're stuck with me. Best deal I ever made." They moved to a house 6 months later. Not the penthouse. Ava had never felt comfortable there, but a place in Lincoln Park that was big enough for all of them without feeling like a museum. Chloe got her own room, Ava got a study, Mason got a home office that didn't feel like work, and they got a life that felt real. Ava finished nursing school 2 years after they got married, graduated top of her class. Mason watched from the audience, front row, because he'd gotten there 2 hours early, feeling prouder than he had at any business achievement. She got a job at a children's hospital, pediatric oncology, the hardest unit in the hospital, working with kids fighting cancer. "You're sure about this?" Mason asked when she told him. "I'm sure. This is what I've always wanted to do. It's going to be hard. Everything worth doing is hard." She was right about that too. The scholarship fund, officially the Ava Carter Scholarship Fund, grew beyond their initial plans. What started as 10 students a year became 20, then 30. They funded not just tuition, but living expenses, books, even childcare for students who were parents. Ava insisted on meeting every recipient personally, wanted to hear their stories, understand their struggles, remind them that they deserved this chance. "You're my hero," one student told her. Ava had laughed. I'm just someone who got lucky. No, the student said. You're someone who survived and then made sure others could survive too. Mason watched her with these students and understood something he'd been too blind to see before. Wealth wasn't about how much money you had. It was about what you did with what you'd been given. And Ava, who'd been given nothing and built everything, understood that better than anyone. They had their fights, of course. Ava still struggled with the wealth disparity, still got uncomfortable at fancy events, still insisted on paying for things even when it made no financial sense. But they figured it out, together. Mason stepped back from the company, promoted David to CEO, and moved himself to chairman, a role that required less time and gave him more freedom to actually live. He started a foundation focused on healthcare access, affordable insurance, medical debt relief, support for families dealing with catastrophic illness, the kind of programs that would have helped Ava when her mother was sick. You're trying to save everyone, Ava told him one night. I'm trying to save the people I can. Why? Because you taught me that money should do more than sit in an account. It should help people, make things better, give people chances they wouldn't have otherwise. Ava kissed him. I love you, even though I'm a reformed billionaire, especially because you're a reformed billionaire. Chloe grew up surrounded by love from two parents who adored her and each other. She went to public school, Ava insisted, and played soccer and learned to code because Mason couldn't help teaching her. On her 13th birthday, she asked Ava something Mason had been wondering about himself. Do you ever think about how different your life would be if you hadn't met Dad? Ava thought about it. Sometimes. I'd probably still be working at the diner. Probably never would have gone back to nursing school. Definitely wouldn't have you. Are you glad it happened this way? Every single day. Even when Grandma Reed is being weird? Even then. Chloe smiled. Good. Because I can't imagine anyone else being my mom. Ava hugged her. Me neither, sweetheart. Years passed. The scholarship fund helped hundreds of students. The foundation provided health care to thousands of families. Chloe graduated high school and went to college and came home for holidays with stories about her life. And Mason and Ava kept building their world. Not a perfect world, but a real one. One where love mattered more than money, where showing up mattered more than success, where family wasn't defined by blood or wealth, but by who you chose to stand beside. On their 10th anniversary, they went back to Daisy's Grill. It was a gastropub now. Exposed brick, craft cocktails, prices that would have made Ray laugh. But they sat in the same booth where they'd first met, ordered burgers and fries because some things shouldn't change. 10 years, Ava said, best decade of my life. Better than building a billion-dollar company? Way better, she smiled. You always say that, because it's always true. They ate their burgers and watched people come and go. Young couples on first dates, families with small children, people building their own stories in a place that had been the beginning of theirs. Do you ever regret it? Mason asked. Regret what? Marrying me, dealing with my world, all the complications that came with choosing this life. Ava reached across the table and took his hand. Not for a second. You and Chloe gave me a family when I thought I'd be alone forever. You gave me chances I never would have had. But more than that, you made me believe I deserved those chances. You always deserved them. I know that now because you loved me enough to show me. Mason felt his throat tighten. I'm the one who got lucky. We both got lucky. Yeah, he agreed. We did. They finished their meal and walked out into the Chicago night. The city glittered around them, lights and noise and millions of people living their own stories. Mason thought about the broken man who'd walked into this diner years ago, lost and drowning and desperate for something real. He'd found it. Not in success or money or any of the things he'd thought mattered. He'd found it in a tired waitress who saw him as just a guy, in a little girl who needed both of them, in the slow, messy, beautiful work of building a life that meant something. Wealth, he'd learned, wasn't about what you had. It was about who you shared it with. And as he walked hand in hand with his wife toward their car, Mason Reed, billionaire, CEO, reformed workaholic, knew he was the richest man alive. Not because of his bank account, but because he'd learned what actually mattered. And he'd found people worth living for,